Hi guys, my name is Ashraf Tiwali. I've spent almost 20 years in a corporate world in various roles. And having done my MBA a decade ago, I came to realize that many of the theories, models, and tools widely used in a business school don't really work the way we want them and expect them to work. What I mean by that is that when you apply them to a new situation, we expect a specific outcome as per the prescription, and it's rarely the case. For example, I will increase people's engagements so I can make them happy, which gonna lead into an increase of the company performance. Another example, I need a vision so I can work out a strategy, which gonna lead to a strategic planning and achieve the desired vision. In economics and finance, models have been developed and earned their owners Nobel Prizes. It's widely known now that many of those same models have led to major blowups with catastrophic consequences, which led people to criticize them, and a whole body of knowledge is currently available addressing the model's shortcoming. But when it comes to the management field, the blowups are much more frequent, but unfortunately, they are more insidious. It's true that if a company blows up, it's difficult to trace the issue back to those models and their application. So, all in all, I decided to make a series of videos that will look into the mainstream management tools and how they are used, deconstruct them, and cover the assumption on which they are based and show the limit of their application, and most importantly, show the major harm they can inflict to organizations. I will be looking at these models from two not mutually exclusive angles. First, the real world practice, as I do believe management is a practice, not an expertise, nor a science. The second angle through which I will be looking at those management tools is the complexity science, a field I have been interested in for some time, which happened to answer many questions in organization. Let me mention an important thing here. In general, when you criticize models people have been using for a long time, the same people will resist. And when you push the critic even further, the reaction is in general, what do you suggest? At least we have something to work with. To which I respond, not because you have the Alps map that's going to help you when you are in the Pyrenees, to paraphrase Nassim Taleb map fallacy. So if you think that you will find here a 2 by 2 matrix or something of the sort, you can just pass. This video is not for you. But if things that you have been doing or have been told to do didn't produce what you expect them to produce or produced completely unintended consequences, you are in a good company. So don't expect practical advice. But if there is one thing I can say, although I'm against unsolicited advice, be very careful in using mainstream management tools. Models could go along with a warning. Use only for description purpose, never for prescription. So let's start with the beginning then. Why those models don't work in the real world? Some might interject here. Sometimes they work, sometimes not. But this is exactly what I say. They don't work. When you're boarding a plane, you can't say sometimes the plane is going to work and sometimes not. You need to have an almost certainty that things are going to work, otherwise, you don't board. So, why those management tools don't work? The answer will lead us to talk about the history of physics. Yes, physics, the science of matter. In the 17th century, one of the first pioneers of the scientific revolution, Isaac Newton, developed what we now call classical mechanics, whereby the motion of two objects can be predicted with precision. This started a revolution, a scientific revolution, in which the world was perceived as a machine, described as a deterministic world, in which the relationship between cause and effect is very direct. Say, for example, the law of gravity. It's called a law because wherever you are on the planet, if you drop something, it's going to fall. This Newtonian and deterministic thinking had a huge effect even outside science, since philosophers such as Descartes and Leibniz espoused it. 2 centuries have passed, and a great technological progress was achieved. Scientists started to review this deterministic and Newtonian thinking as precision was not what they were witnessing. Then came the era of statistical mechanics, moving from deterministic to a probabilistic view of the world, which means the world of possibilities. That allowed macroscopic properties to be understood out of a statistical properties of their component. For example, the temperature and pressure of a container can easily be determined without knowing exactly the individual behavior of every, every molecule. Fast forward, the discovery of subatomic particles and their complete unpredictability in early 20th century put the last nail in the determinism coffin, and physics moved into the world of quantum physics and nonlinear systems later. Moving further, during the last decades, physics have been dealing with a more tortuous problem, the world of complex systems, in which components or agents interact with each other in a way that can't be predicted, and where relationships between cause and effect are difficult, even impossible to determine. When you add the uncertainty about the agents themselves, the whole becomes overwhelming. Welcome to the world of complexity, the major challenge of the 21st century. Why bother with the history of physics? Here's the thing. Since the first scientific revolution, social sciences in general have borrowed concepts developed in physics to study and understand how people behave. These concepts belong to the Newtonian physics or classical mechanics and its deterministic view. This is something well known in literature. It's called physics envy. So far, so good. The problem is what comes next. Despite the fact that physics went through several revolutions, this didn't seem to affect social sciences, which branched their way out and continued to be studied and researched based on very shaky and realistic foundations, the deterministic view. Let's start with the first example. The whole modern economics assume an equilibrium between supply and demand, something that is not really the case since things are in a constant fluctuation. Second, many concepts and theories in the business world have been developed based on the assumption that the world in general and companies in specifically are machine-like, subject to linear thinking and direct cause-effect relationship. And here are some examples. I need to determine my vision and understand where I am right now so I can develop a strategy on how to get there. A very linear thinking. I want to build an efficient, optimized business regardless of size or environment. I want to make informed based decision as I can know everything that it is to know. I need to perform market studies so I can understand how people behave. I want to make evidence based decisions as if evidence of absence is absence of evidence. I will raise employees' salaries so they can perform well. I will work hard so I can produce great outputs. And the list goes on and on and on. I hope that by the end of this video, you will understand that management theories, models, and tools are based on a very shaky foundations, that of determinism, linear thinking, simple causality, low dimensionality, rationality, and so on and on and on. Our world has always been complex, but it's getting even more complex than ever. The complexity is the outcome of an increasing connection, both physical and virtual. There are words hidden in plain sight, as stated by David Krakauer of the Santa Fe Institute. That word requires not hard work, but smart work. A work that requires us to go back and falsify every underlying assumption. A work that allows us to see things as they are, not as we want them to be. A work that embraces the complexity and makes it an asset. Fortunately, examples of these worlds abound in nature, and they are called complex adaptive systems.